let me introduce you to Johnny Mac, as if Johnny Mac, after all these years, needs any introduction. Yeah, put the headphones on if you like. You'd be used to those. And get closer to the microphone. And thank you. You brought me your book.
Yeah, second
Wonderful.
edition, Jeremy. It's selling very well.
Oh, my God, yes, I would think. And you will autograph it for me.
I certainly will.
Thank you. Pink Champagne and A Life of Roses. Now, this song, you've quite reasonably named the book after the song. This was the first song, I understand, that made it to the American top 10, first Australian song?
It got Pick of the Week in Cashbox in America, and they said this song should skyrocket up the charts. That was a weepy Pink Champagne song, and also the reverse side, Jeremy, was called It Takes More Than the Big Sombrero, and Cashbox gave it a bullet, and they said this should skyrocket up the charts. So this Big Sombrero was a flip side, B-side with Dale Cleaves and the Starliners, and Peter Hiscock wrote it, and the Seekers backed me before they were famous in Melbourne. I made 3 trips to Melbourne.
The Seekers were your backing group?
Yes, they were a cheap folk group.
I've never heard that before. I didn't know they
Yes, in 1963, Dale Cleaves from Mount Gambier owns the barn and the Starliners, and Peter Hiscock, a songwriter, my friend.
Yeah.
And they took me to Melbourne the first trip. We got this cheap folk group in late 62. And it was the Seekers. We got them for £4 each, and they were in the Beckett Street in a house studio in Melbourne. So they backed me, and I did a song called So Sorry, and it charted, and it was a custom record, and I was called GAS, Good Aussie Songs, Mr. Gasman. Then we did a second tour of Melbourne, again financed by Dale Cleaves and Peter Hiscock and the Starliners with the band, and I did a song called Sad Remembering, which got #1. It's a custom record at Broken Hill. Mm-hmm. Then I did and the Seekers again, and then I did a third trip to Melbourne.
Well, they called themselves the Seekers back in those days.
Yeah.
What year was this?
That was 1963.
63.
And
Good
we
year,
got them
63.
for £4 each. And they backed me again. Now they only had a 4-track machine, and they had egg cartons for petitions.
Oh, yes, yes.
And each individual, and I was in a studio, little glass case, and I recorded the song Pink Champagne, A Room of Roses, 17 takes on a 4-track machine. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't better the first one, and the Seekers again backed me. We got this cheap folk group for £4 each. Mm. And they gave me a quality of sound.
Yeah.
And we've been friends, for years, obviously. Keith came to my house a couple of years ago with his song, Keith Potker. And they gave me a quality sound, so...
yeah. That's just the phone ringing.
Ron Tudor, the A&R man.
Ah, Ron Tudor, yeah.
Took it to New York.
Yep.
And they accepted it, and all they did was alter the bass a bit, and it managed to get a bullet with Pick of the Week and Cashbox in America. Now, I'm 32 years of age. I've got my Canadian wife and 6 children under 10 in Adelaide, and I just signed a contract with 7. And actually, Pink Champagne for 2 weeks in Adelaide outsold the Beatles. We were selling 1,000 or 1,400 per day. It outsold the Beatles for 2 weeks.
What's that feel like?
Oh, well, look, we're all in the same, it felt, I was excited. But, it was, but America wanted me to go and promote it. Now, I've got 6 kids. I'm 32, and I signed a contract.
No wonder you look so young.
I'll be 92 in 4 months' time.
Well, I think you're amazing. That's fantastic.
My memory is still good, and I used to be a fan of Jeremy's when I was a kid.
Yeah, I believe that. Tell me about the last time I saw you with Chris Christopherson and Rita Coolidge.
We were sitting at the table at the Grand Hotel. Yeah. And Rita Coolidge came on, and she was lovely. And then she came back. She said, I forgot to sing this song. And she sang the song Amazing Grace in the Cherokee language. Huh? Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I do remember that.
And that was a forced march where a lot of Indians died.
Yeah.
And you know that song Amazing Grace? Mm. That was written 300 years ago.
But you know who wrote it?
By a Scottish sea captain.
And you know he was a slave trader?
Yes, I was about to say that. Yeah. And it's been done so many times. Yeah.
And it's been done so many times in the name of, all of the things that you would imagine would be totally these people, woke people of today, I'm sure they don't know it was written by a slave trader.
Yeah, well, and it's been the most amazing song, but, you know, irrespective, I respect all religions, but it's a religious song, and it's got a great story.
Oh, yes, it does. I mean, it has had some fantastic people sing it. Have you ever sung it?
No, I haven't. No, but I don't know why, but...
Barack Obama did a very good version of it without any backing.
The president did.
Yeah.
Goodness me, yeah.
It is a kind of anthem for anti-slavery.
Yeah. What a beautiful song, though. It's like nearly 400 years.
Yes. I've heard Johnny Cash sing it.
Yeah, I opened for Johnny Cash.
Tell me about that.
Well, I had... I'll try and be brief. When I played league football for Sturt, and I was a ballroom dancer, and I was popular because I could, and all the girls making their debut wanted Johnny Mac, because I was a ballroom dancer. And so the last girl I took was Pam Scott. We had her debut at the Adelaide Town Hall, and I was playing league football for Sturt at the time. Worked my way through the coast. We're from Parkside, the wrong side of the track.
How did you find time to have 6 kids?
Oh, well, I'll tell you about that. We had twins the last time, but 3 were born in Canada. But at any rate, so I worked my way up the Colts right through the B grade. And there was a bit of discrimination at the time because Parkside was Parkside Lunatic Asylum, and you go to a convent, and we were called, Parkside Catholic, lunatics, and we fought all the time.
But Parkside's fairly posh these days.
Now it is, yes, but then it wasn't. So I got into the league, and the Sturt, and my first game was against West Torrens, the Hank brothers in Unley Oval, and they went top that year, 1953.
Yeah.
I kicked 2 goals, but I had to sit on the fence for 9 times in the B grade. Yeah. Then I played Sunday football for Cowandilla during my period. That time, I won their McGarry medal. So Sturt's put me in the seconds. And other than on the fence, 9 times straight, 9 weeks straight on the seconds in 1953. So I get best on ground. Then they put me to the league the next game, and I stood Bobby Hank, Lindsay Head, and they went top. And my second league game was against Port Adelaide at Alberton, and Len Fitzgerald and Wally May said, back into Foss Williams. Like Foss is Afghan, originally Australian, lovely guy, Foss Williams.
Yeah.
He was born in
legendary.
He was born same place as my brother-in-law, and so they said back in, so I backed into him, and he gave me the squirrel grip.
What's the squirrel grip?
He grabbed my testicles.
Oh, you're kidding!
Before the game, and I nearly went unconscious.
Oh my God!
And so.
He's gone. He's gone.
But they beat us. But he wrote me up I got so mad. I played well, and he wrote me up as my name was Macareth, but it was always Johnny Mac as a kid. And so anyway, so I played about 12 games the next season, and the day we were playing Norwood, I was out to 1 a.m. in the morning with Pam Scott, partnering her in her debut. Len Fitzgerald found out about it, and he dropped me.
What? Why did he drop you? That's yours.
He dropped me because I was out to 1 a.m.
Oh, right. And I never
got back. And so I went overseas. I went to England. I was greasing cars in London. I toured Europe for 3 months. And then I immigrated to Montreal, to Canada, and finished up in Sault Ste. Marie, a still town of 80,000 people, Twin City at the North, Michigan. And that's where I formed a band. I got on a radio show, sang a Tex Morton song. Somebody heard me, a still player, and we had a practice, and we formed the Down Unders. I had a radio program for 18 months, CJIC. Yep. We had the Down Unders weekly program. And because we were so popular, the first show we opened in the 4,000 Ice Arena Memorial Hall, because there's only 20,000 in the Twin City on Michigan. Yeah. We had 80,000. We opened for Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison, and Carl Perkins.
Wow, that's all those Sun Records
Well,
guys.
Johnny Cash was 6'2", Jeremy.
Yes.
And he did an Elvis impersonation.
Oh, really?
And Jeremy caught, Now, Carl Perkins
used to play guitar for Johnny Cash.
Yeah, and Roy Orbison was so quiet. He had dark blonde hair. He didn't wear glasses.
Yeah.
He had a big ring guitar, and he sang Ooby Dooby. That was his song.
Ooby Dooby.
And he said, thank you, and he was very, very quiet and so sophisticated.
Yeah.
Then Carl Perkins said to me, get yourself a Martin D28 guitar. And I went across the river and bought one the next day.
So there was Carl and there was Luther Perkins, wasn't there?
Luther was Johnny Cash guitar player.
All right.
Not Carl.
Oh, I see. Okay. Right,
Now,
right.
Johnny Cash was doing his thing in Germany like Elvis, and he was a sound engineer and he was a code breaker.
Right. So he was doing his national service.
He was, yes. Yeah. And this is how the song came about. So Johnny Cash was going on his weekend furlough, and there was an African-American behind him waiting to get out of the camp. And Johnny Cash walked back and he said, hey, man, don't step on my blue suede shoes. And Johnny Cash had this title. So somehow Carl Perkins got it, yeah.
Yeah, because Elvis Presley didn't have the first version of it. He had a cover version of it later on.
Well, I was in town then. I was in the country then in the time. I was from 56 to 60.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy had a big hit with it. Not Jeremy, Carl Perkins.
Yep.
And then
I wish I'd had it.
Yeah, and then he had a crash and he was off the scene for 6 months, and Elvis came to him and said, may I sing this song?
Yes.
And then Elvis had a smash hit. And I was in country at the time. Yeah. And I was in country when we opened for Buddy Holly, but I was in country when they had the...
You opened for Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
Don't just roll over that.
Well, look, just briefly, he was wonderful. Just name a few that I just met them briefly. I'm sitting in the dressing room and I heard this thick southern accent. I like your song, son. And it was Jerry Lee Lewis. And he said, I sang a Jim Reeves song, and he bought us all a coffee.
Yeah.
And I'll just name the artists we opened for. Only briefly met them. There was the Everly Brothers, Johnny Horton, Marty Robbins, Satchmo, Bill Haley. And we met 20 or 25 of the greats.
All of the greats. And you're the last one standing. That's amazing.
Well, I'll be 92 in August, but unfortunately, I've never drank or smoked or
I was going to offer you a glass of wine, but I thought to myself, well, I won't do that because he looks so young.
Jeremy, if I had my first drink, I've never had tasted alcohol, even though I had to think so. If I had my first drink, no woman would be safe.
Well, it is ironic, isn't it, that your great song was a Pink Champagne and a Room Full of Roses.
Yeah, so I chose to stay in Australia, and I have no regrets because 3 months touring in America, too much temptation. I've got 6 children, and my wife said, go to Vietnam twice, and she was my rock Barbara. Her great-grandfather was a Chippewa chief. And her father was Swedish, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why do I get the feeling that you kind of got into show business almost by accident, and really, in your heart, you would have liked to have been a professional footballer?
Yes, well, things evolve. You know, I never planned anything. I've never asked for a job in my life. Everything I've done, I've been asked to do.
Well, you're sort of blessed in a way because, number one, you've got the talent. So you could not only play football, but you can sing and you can write and produce and all those other things. Is it true that you had Elvis Presley's car?
Yes, I went to Hawaii after I sold my mansion in Victoria Avenue, and I went to Hawaii. Wow. And that was in 82.
What would that mansion in Victoria?
We had 15 rooms, a tennis court, and a swimming pool. I was there for 14 years. I sold it for $1.2 million in the 80s.
What's it, 6 or 7 now?
Oh, yes, it would be. But you know what? They're overrated because I lived in Victoria Avenue, my kids were ostracised.
Really, it's a lovely street.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I love the trees. It's beautiful.
But you need help, and I did all the maintenance myself. Oh. And but I sold it, and we went overseas. And so anyway, I was in Hawaii by myself. I met Jimmy Velvet, a friend of Elvis. Now, Jimmy Velvet had the Elvis memorabilia. He just returned from Australia. It was about 82. And he was upstairs, and we bonded because in the entertainment industry. And he said, Johnny Mac, I just came from Australia. I showed my $15 million memorabilia in Sydney and Melbourne. I took out $250,000 by showing. So he said, Colonel Blues offered me Elvis's Cadillac. It's a 1967, but he said, I don't want it because I'm in the process of buying a small plane that Elvis owned, and I've got his Cadillacs and Rolls Royces. But if you want it, you can buy it from me from Colonel Compaga for $18,000.
$18,000?
Yeah, and I had the money then.
Wow.
So I said, oh, yeah. And he said, but if you buy it on one condition, Jeremy, you don't show it in America. Okay. And so I brought it to Australia, and that's another story.
But where is it now?
Oh, I think it's back in America because when I had it...
Has it got a bullet hole in it?
Yeah, I discovered that. We refurbished it. Oh, it's quite a story. But the Mafia had a hit on it, and that was on Channel 7, this whole episode. And I had to hide it in the Adelaide Hills for 10 months. Yeah, and then...
No wonder you've written a book.
No, I didn't write it. My son, ex-lawyer Terry Kavanagh, wrote it.
Oh.
But we sent it to Perth on a train, and you had to cover it because hailstones and kids throw bricks from over bridges.
Terrific, yes.
So we got 2 bomb threats in Perth. And then I took it to Sydney, and I'm not happy with John Laws. He said, oh, big deal, Johnny Mac's got Elvis Cadillac. He put me down.
Oh, John Laws would do that, because you had a better car.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah. Anyway, I've talked too much, sorry.
No, I could sit here and listen to you all day. You're going to record with Peter Clayton a song?
Yeah, I'm going to record one of his songs. But I've got one out here. It's called.
Let me just sort of get Leighton on the air. Leighton, are you there?
Good morning, or good afternoon. No, good morning.
Well, close enough. I've got Johnny Mac with me. I don't know if you remember Johnny Mac, but you'd
Oh, absolutely. He goes back a couple of years, doesn't he?
Well, he does. He tells me he is 92
in August.
Yeah. Which is just amazing. And he's just he's just handed me his. This is your latest CD?
It's actually it's number 1 in Port Douglas. I haven't released it yet, but it's the story about my wife and I wrote about Johnny Mac to Johnny Cash.
Oh, how wonderful! Johnny Mac to Johnny Cash, written by Barbara and Johnny Mac.
Yeah,
and then singing me, Bob.
Well done, Johnny. Well done indeed.
Thank you very much,
Jeremy. I'm sorry. I'm having all sorts of technical difficulties listening to you online for some reason.
Oh, I don't understand it. Mind you, I don't understand the whole online genre. But, at least we can very briefly say hello because I'm running out of time and I've got to talk to the Animal Welfare League before midday. And it's about 3 minutes to midday.
I was just going to say very quickly that I'm meeting up with... Peter Sullivan, who you met last time we were up there.
Yes.
Having a look at your cars.
Yes.
He's in Tokyo at the moment, and we're going out for afternoon tea, dinner, and then going to a very nice, cosy little bar afterwards. So,
well, you give him my very best, and you stay well. I hope everything is okay over there. No tsunamis and no earthquakes and stuff like that.
Oh, well, we've only had about 36 earthquakes so far this month in Japan.
A quiet month.
Yeah, well, last month was even quieter. It was only 201. And the month before that was 276. And in January, of course, when we had that really big one on the 1st of January, we finished up, or Japan as a whole finished up with 1,071.
And they called New Zealand the Shaky Isles.
Exactly.
Anyway, listen, mate, I
won't hold you up any longer.
Well, just...
I won't hold you up any longer.
You look after yourself and stay well, and I hope I see you soon.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Leighton from Tokyo, very loyal, wonderful listener over many, many years. John, would you sign...
Yeah, certainly. I'll
sign the book?
Yeah.
That could be wonderful. And thank you for the CDs.
That's another one where we're putting this out too.
Oh, what's that one?
A lady wrote it, O'Reilly from Kangaroo Island, and we did it for Ansett 55 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's 3 lovely songs there because they touched down on Kangaroo Island, the Endeavour, before they touched down in Adelaide.
Yeah, because Kangaroo Island could have been the major city.
And there's quite an infectious song there called the Kangaroo Hop. The kids love it, but I record it now. It's just out. I've just had it.
Will you come back and talk to us again?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
All right. I'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
The great Johnny Mac, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll keep you cross the recording of that song that Peter Clayton?
Yeah, I'll record it soon. Yes.
Yeah. I'll play it for you as soon as